Welcome back, guys. Okay, let's read. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. Transgression of the law. In the early 14th century, a young man named Castruccio Castracani rose from the rows of common soldier to be lord of the great city of Lucca, Italy. One of the most powerful families in the city, the Paggios, had been instrumental in his climb, which succeeded through treachery and bloodshed. But after he came to power, they came to feel he had forgotten them. His ambition outweighed any gratitude he felt. In 1325, while Castruccio was away fighting Lucca's main rival, Florence, the Poggios conspired with other noble families in the city to rid themselves of this troublesome and ambitious prince. Mounting an insurrection, the plotters attacked and murdered the government whom Castruccio had left behind to rule the city. Riots broke out, and the Castruccio supporters and the Poggios supporters were poised to do battle. At the height of the tension, however, Stefani di Poggio, the oldest member of the family, intervened and made both sides lay down their arms. A peaceful man, Stefano had not taken part in the conspiracy. He had told his family it would end in a useless bloodbath. Now he insisted he should intercede on the family's behalf and persuade Castruccio to listen to their complaints and satisfy their demands. Stefano was the oldest and wisest member of the clan, and his family agreed to put their trust in his diplomacy rather than in their weapons. When news of the rebellion reached Castruccio, he hurried back to Lucca. By the time he arrived, however, the fighting had ceased through Stefano's agency, and he was surprised by the city's calm and peace. Stefano di Poggio had imagined that Castruccio would be grateful to him for his part in quelling the rebellion, so he paid the prince a visit. He explained how he had brought peace, then begged for Castruccio's mercy. He said that the rebels in his family were young and impetuous, hungry for power yet inexperienced. He recalled his family's past generosity to Castruccio for all the reasons. He said the great prince should pardon the Paggios and listen to their complaints. This, he said, was the only just thing to do, since the family had willingly laid down their arms and had always supported him. Castruccio listened patiently. He seemed not the slightest bit angry or resentful. Instead, he told Stefano to rest assured that justice would prevail, and he asked him to bring his entire family to the palace to talk over their grievances and come to an agreement. As they took leave of one another, Castruccio said he thanked God for the chance he had given to show his clemency and kindness. That evening, the entire Poggio family came to the palace. Castruccio immediately had them imprisoned, and a few days later, all were executed, including Stefano. Interpretation. Stefano di Poggio is the embodiment of all those who believe that the justice and nobility of their cause will prevail. Certainly appeals to justice and gratitude have occasionally succeeded in the past, but more often than not, they have had dire consequences, especially in dealings with the Castruccios of the world. Stefano knew that the prince had risen to power through treachery and ruthlessness. This was a man, after all, who had put a close and devoted friend to death. When Castruccio was told that it had been a man like Castruccio knows only force and self-interest. When the rebellion began to end it and place oneself in his mercy was the most dangerous possible move. Even though Stefano di Poggio had made that fatal mistake, however, he still had options. He could have offered money to Castruccio, could have made promises for the future, could have pointed out what the Poggios could still contribute to Castruccio's power, their influence with the most influential families of Rome, for example, and the great marriage they could have brokered. Instead, Stefano brought up the past and debt that carried no obligation. Not only is a man not obliged to be grateful is often a terrible burden that he gladly discards. And in that case, Castruccio rid himself of his obligation to the Paggios by eliminating the Paggios. Observance of the law. In 433 BC, just before the Peloponnesian War, the island of Corcyra, later called Corfu and the Greek city-state of Corinth stood on the brink of conflict. Both parties sent ambassadors to Athens to try to win over the Athenians to their side. The stakes were high, since, however, had Athens on his side was sure to win, and whoever won the war would certainly give the defeated side no mercy. Corcyra spoke first. Its ambassador began by admitting that the island had never helped Athens before, and in fact had allied himself with Athens' enemies. There were no ties of friendship or gratitude between Corcyra and Athens. Yes, the ambassador admitted he had come to Athens now out of fear and concern for Corcyra's safety. The only thing that he could offer was an alliance of mutual interest. Corcyra had a navy only surpassed in size and strength by Athens' own. An alliance between the two states would create a formidable force, one that could intimidate the rival state of Sparta. That, unfortunately, was all Corcyra had to offer. The representative from Corinth then gave a brilliant, passionate speech in sharp contrast to the dry, colorless approach of the Corcyran. He talked of everything Corinth had done for Athens in the past. He asked how it would look to Athens' other allies if the city put an agreement with the former enemy over one with a present friend, one that had served Athens' interests loyally. Perhaps those allies would break their agreements with Athens if they saw that their loyalty was not valued. He referred to Hellenic law and the need to repay Corinth for all its good deeds. He financially went on to list the many services Corinth had performed for Athens and the importance of showing gratitude to one's friends. After the speech, the Athenians debated the issues in an assembly. On the second round, they voted overwhelmingly to ally with Corcyra and rob Corinth. Interpretation. History was remembered the Athenians nobly, but they were the preeminent realists of classical Greece. With them, all the rhetoric, all the emotional appeals in the world could not match a good pragmatic argument, especially one that added to their power. What the Corinthian ambassador did not realize was that his references to Corinth's past generosity to Athens only irritated the Athenians, certainly asking them to feel guilty and putting them under obligation. The Athenians couldn't care less about past favors and friendly feelings. At the same time, they knew that if their other allies thought them ungrateful for abandoning Corinth, these city-states would still be unlikely to break their ties to Athens, the preeminent power in Greece. Athens ruled its empire by force and would simply compel a rebellious ally to return to the fort. When people choose between talk about the past and talk about the future, a pragmatic person will always opt for the future and forget the past. As the Corcyraans realize, it's always best to speak pragmatically to a pragmatic person, and in the end, most people are in fact pragmatic. They will rarely act against their own self-interest. It has always been a rule that the weak should be subject to the strong, and besides, we consider that we are worthy of our power up till the present moment too. You too used to think that we are, but now, after calculating your own interest, you are beginning to talk in terms of right and wrong. Consideration of this kind have never yet turned people aside from the opportunities of aggrandizement offered by superior strength. Athenians representative to Sparta, quoted in the Peloponnesian War, 465-395 BC. Keys to power. In your quest for power, you will constantly find yourself in the position of asking for help from those more powerful than you. There is an art to asking for help, an art that depends on your ability to understand the person you are dealing with and to not confuse your needs with theirs. Most people never succeed at this because they are completely trapped in their own wants and desires. They start from the assumption that the people they are appealing to have a selfless interest in helping them. They talk as if their needs matter to those people who probably couldn't care less. Sometimes they refer to larger issues, a great cause, or grand emotions such as love and gratitude. They go for their big picture when simply everyday realities would have much more appeal. What they do not realize is that even the most powerful person is locked inside needs of his own, and that if you make no appeal to his self-interest, he merely sees you as a desperate or, at best, a waste of time. In the 16th century, Portuguese missionaries had tried for years to convert the people of Japan to Catholicism, while at the same time Portugal had a monopoly on trade between Japan and Europe. Although the missionaries did have some success, they never got far among the ruling elite by the beginning of the 17th century. In fact, their proselytizing had completely antagonized the Japanese Emperor Ieyasu. When the Dutch began to arrive in Japan in great numbers, Ieyasu was much relieved. He needed Europeans for their know-how in guns and navigation, and here at last were Europeans who cared nothing for spreading religion. The Dutch wanted only to trade. Ieyasu swiftly moved to evict the Portuguese. From then on, he would only deal with the practical-minded Dutch. Japan and Holland were vastly different cultures, but each shared a timeless and universal concern, self-interest. Every person you deal with is like another culture, an alien land with a past that has nothing to do with yours. Yet you can bypass the differences between you and him by appealing to his self-interest. Do not be subtle. You have valuable knowledge to share. You will fill his coffers with gold. You will make him live longer and happier. This is a language that all of us speak and understand. A key step in the process is to understand the other person's psychology. Is he concerned about his reputation or his social standing? Does he have enemies you could help him vanquish? Is he simply motivated by money and power? Bye.